All right, let's do some 7.2. Number 40, it says find the exact value of this. Well, this says there's an angle where the cosecant is square root of 2. Okay, so then that means there's an angle where the reciprocal cosecant, the sine, is 1 over the square root of 2, because that's the cosecant ratio, just like we did in that special angle quiz. The sine has a reciprocal. And what angle? Now the capital sine, we'd be looking in which quadrants? Well, that'd be 1 and 4. And it's 1 over the square root of 2, so that'd be in 1. And 1 over the square root of 2 is the 45, or pi over 4. 45. Now it says find decimal approximation. And it says there, find an angle where the secant is 4. Well, that means there's an angle with reciprocal of secant is cosine is 1/4. So we're going to find, and now the other way to look at that is if this was x, we could take the secant of both sides, and we'd have 4 is the secant of x. And so if secant of x is 4, the reciprocal of secant, which is 1 over cosine, would be 4. And taking the reciprocal of both sides, we'd get the cosine of x equals 1/4. So the cosine inverse is 1/4. So this is what we want to find. Now, we're going to take out our calculator and type in cosine inverse of 0.25. Cosine inverse, if 0.25, and it'll give me something in the first quadrant. And that happens to be in radians, I believe, because my mode is in radians. So that's 1.318. Okay? Now, this says find it where the cotangent is 1/2. Similar to what we did up there, that means there's an angle where the tangent has a reciprocal, which is 2. And that happens to be not a special angle, so we're going to get a decimal approximation. Tangent inverse of 2. Now, with cotangent and tangent, there's a concern. Cotangent, capital cotangent, would return something in the first and second quadrant. Tangent inverse returns something in the first and fourth. But since the ratio is positive, it's going to be in the first, and it'll be the same no matter which. If this was negative, the tangent would produce something down here, but the cotangent would have to do it up here, and so we'd have to add 180 or pi to our answer, depending on whether we're in degrees or radians. So anyway, this one will be fine because the ratio is positive, and so we're going to do tangent inverse of 2, and we get 1.107. All right, now this one says there's an angle where the cosine is u over 1. There's an angle. Don't know what it is, but the cosine is u over 1, and cosine's adjacent over hypotenuse. So then to find this side, we'd go x squared plus u squared equals 1. Subtract u squared, and x squared equals 1 minus u squared. Take the square root, and we get x equals the square root of 1 minus u squared. And don't fall for the trick that you say, oh, square root of 1 and square root of u squared. You can't distribute the square root on a minus. So that's what goes here. Square root of 1 minus u squared. Now it says, what's the tangent of this angle? Because this is talking about that angle question mark. And this says now find the tangent. And the tangent's the opposite over the adjacent, or cosine over sine. So, sine over cosine, which is the square root of 1 minus u squared over u.